This is the second lecture from chapter C. We're going to look in a little bit more detail now at the major scale. And I'm going to look with you at example C.2 from the textbook. Here's example C.2. It shows us a major scale, which is the C major scale, the scale that has no sharps or flats in it. And we have the scale degree numbers above the notes. And I think I didn't mention this in the first lecture, but notice how each of these numbers has this little caret over it, or a circumflex. This is how we know that the number indicates scale degrees. One of the awkward things about music theory is that we use numbers for just about everything. So if I'm talking about 1, 2, and 3, you don't really know for sure whether I'm talking about beats 1, 2, and 3. Maybe I'm talking about scale degrees 1, 2, and 3. I could be talking about intervals, a unison, a second, and a third. Maybe I'm talking about chords, the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord. So it does get a little bit confusing. One of the ways of lessening the confusion is for the scale degrees to put that little symbol which indicates scale degree. Let me point out the structure of the major scale, which is pretty important. The scale has a lower group of 4 notes. We could call this a tetrachord, tetra and chord just meaning a group of notes. So the lower tetrachord is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a whole step, and then a whole step, and then a half step. Tone, tone, semitone. And now here's the second tetrachord. 5, 6, 7, 1. Again, same structure. Now starting on the dominant note, whole step, half step. The 2 tetrachords are separated by a whole step. Now, up above the notes are their names, and you do need to know these names. But let me explain the names to you in a way that perhaps will make it easier for you to remember them. Take a look at what I've written on the board behind me. Okay, in the last lecture, we talked about the tonic, the mediant, and the dominant note. The tonic is the most important note. The dominant is the second most important note. And the mediant note is in between them. It's the midpoint or the median between those 2 notes. And these 3 notes together make a tonic triad. Now, back in the 19th century, and I'm not going to go through the whole explanation of why, but theorists believed that there was an important symmetry around the tonal center, and that there was a sort of relationship between notes above the tonic and notes below the tonic. We don't really think that that's all that important anymore. But look at what we have below the tonic. In the same way that going a fifth above tonic gives us the dominant, going a fifth below tonic gives us the subdominant, and that's scale degree 4. It's called the subdominant actually not because it's a step below dominant, but because it has the same relationship below tonic of a perfect fifth below that the dominant has above tonic. And then the halfway point between the tonic and the subdominant is the submedian, that's scale degree 6. So the midpoint of that lower fifth is the submedian. Then the other 2 remaining scale degrees are scale degrees that are very close to tonic, and they kind of get their names in relation to the tonic. So here's the tonic, scale degree 1. Above scale degree 1 is the supertonic. And in a minute, I'm going to talk more about tendency tones. But the supertonic has a strong tendency to go down to tonic, although it also could have the tendency of going up to the median. So if I were to sing a part of the C major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 3, 4, 2. If I stop there, it doesn't sound so good. I want to hear 2, 1. I want to hear it lead down to 1. So this is the supertonic. It's the note above tonic. The note below tonic is also a note with a strong relation to tonic, and it's even stronger than that tendency of the supertonic to resolve down. So I made this arrow really big and thick to show how important it was. The supertonic is a whole step above tonic. The leading tone is a half step away from tonic. So it's a 1/2 step or a semitone. And the fact that it's so close to tonic means that there's a real strong, almost gravitational attraction of the leading tone to tonic. And you really, really, really want to hear the leading tone resolve to tonic. Let me sing you another Christmas carol. It's July when I'm recording this, and I'm just having Christmas in July because there's so many Christmas carols. 1 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 5 6 6 7 7 1. It leads right up there. So leading tone, very important note. We'll often see it abbreviated LT. It is a half a step below tonic. Supertonic, a whole step above tonic, generally wants to resolve to tonic. Let's go back to the example C.2 in your book. Okay, part B of this example shows you the more stable and the less stable notes. The more stable notes are those scale degrees that we started out talking about: tonic, dominant, the high tonic, and the median. And they're shown with open notes, open note heads to show their relative importance, and they're connected with a beam, not to show anything rhythmic, but simply to show that they're all connected in that they make a tonic. Now, the less important notes are shown as filled in note heads without stems, and the arrows show their tendency to resolve. As I've said before, scale degree 2 can either go to 1 or 3. Scale degree 4 can either go to 3 or it can go to 5, and it kind of depends on the context for scale degree 4, and this is something that we'll be taking up later when we get into the study of harmony. Scale degree 6 tends to go down to scale degree 5, but scale degree 6 could be part of an ascent up to 1. So it's not so much that 6 wants to go to 7, but it wants to go to 1 by going through scale degree 7. That was true in the first Noel. Da 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 da. 1 7 6 5 6 7 1 7 6 5 6 7 1 5 4 3. So sometimes there's an ascent from 5 to 1, and 6 is part of that leading up to 1 motion. And then there's the leading tone that I talked to you about, and you should probably think of this last arrow as being very big and thick, because that's a really important, strong tendency. That's the C major scale. All major scales have that structure, and in the fourth lecture, we'll be talking about all of the other major scales besides C major.